Hey there, guys. Welcome back to The Overflow. My name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin, also known as the Hatman.
And this week, as we do every week, unless we're not here, we have brought back The Overflow to discuss the questions that you asked that sadly we were not able to get to this week. And sadly we weren't able to get to very many this week because the ones we did get kind of required long explanations. So, though I will say, again, I appreciate Brett Smith coming on to the podcast and talking with us about comic books and giving some detailed answers for the audience as well. So, Brett is good. Brett is good people. I liked having him on.
Yeah.
All right. So, though I thought it was funny that people kept asking if you were dead.
Yeah. That's just something that I do a lot. Whenever somebody else is on the show or is talking, I've even done this in my own live streams. I just sort of sit back and let them talk. So no, I don't die. I just like listening to people, I guess.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and get right into it. Hatman, as always, it is your decision: politics or entertainment.
Let's get politics out of the way.
Okay.
It's been a week.
Let's see here. If a second... Oh, this is from Crystal Wing 2149. If a second civil war does happen, how long do you think it would last, and how much damage do you think it would cause? Well, that's the thing. I don't know if a second civil war could really happen, and even if it did, it would be maybe a couple states against a multitude.
I don't think it would last very long if it was like just citizens, because I mean it'd basically just be left versus right.
Mm-hmm.
And the right would absolutely crush the left because the left doesn't know how to firearm.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I think like maybe if they were more like trained cells, or if like you had like I don't know, like individual encampments of, you know, the National Guard or whatever that just so happen to join up with states. Like it'd be a weird conflict, I think, if it were actually to move to an armed one. But I still say it'd probably just be like your individual cells, like the SRA, the John Brown Gun Club, you know, Antifa members basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it would just get crushed. They'd get crushed, absolutely.
So they might even get crushed by civilians before they would even get them, before the police or the military would even get to them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah, I couldn't see it not lasting long. Office Whisperer brings a religious question forward that I was happy to look at. He wanted to know, and I saw he asked this several times. I was kind of bummed we didn't get to it, but he says, why are there atheists who defend Islam, and why would they do that? Oftentimes, the atheists that I see that defend Islam are the ones that oftentimes are very far to the left. And it's not really for religious reasons. It's because of a belief that people who are of Islamic descent are somehow oppressed. Despite the fact that some of the richest nations in the world are of Islamic backing, or of Islamic religion, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, they're Islamic states.
So I don't. Again, it comes from the book Orientalism by Edward Said, and if you it's one of those books that I recommend. Even though I disagree with almost every word in it, I say read it because that's what the left pulls from. Said was one of those leftist professors who, you know, basically tried to make the argument that, you know, the Middle East is this wonderful place of cultural, you know, richness and all this other stuff, and has an intriguing history and stuff. I'm like, well, yeah, there is part of Arabic history that is really intriguing. And then the mullahs showed up. Just saying. So, yeah, it's a mess. It doesn't make any sense to me either. You know, I would think that if you were against religion in general, it would literally be against religion in general. But once you buy into the progressive stack, well, everything changes.
Yeah. I will say this, though. They're definitely okay with Islam and Islamic states up to the point where it comes to arguing against a Christian theocracy.
Mm.
In which case, do you want what's going on in the Middle East to happen here? Because that's a state-run or religious-run state.
Yeah, and then you ask what religion it is, and they get really quiet.
Mm-hmm. Funny that.
All right. Koopa's Revenge Home says, do the Democrats not grasp the irony of them being called Democrats and liberals whilst being the most authoritarian party in history? Well, American history.
Yeah.
I think that these days they're more authoritarian than they have been in a very long time. Since easily the 1920s.
Oh, yeah. And you've noticed, too, that they started to shed the label of liberal, too, gradually. Now it's progressive. And in some cases, even leftist. Well, liberal is now a scare term.
I have not seen many people that own the title of leftist. I haven't seen much of that, but yeah,
no,
progressive
it's usually radicals that'll do that.
Even then, that's not many. But progressive, however, is definitely the term that they use the most. You know, they don't like being liberal. You know, they don't really want. It seems to me they really don't want anything to do with anything that comes from Locke. So
not anymore. No.
No. But yeah, they don't grasp the irony. You know, they really don't, because there are some people that would still call themselves liberals, and they don't believe in liberal ideology at all. Like there's not even a semblance of it anymore.
Nope.
Here's another good one. Actually, no. Let's answer this one real quick, and then we'll move on to the stuff that's Kavanaugh related. So, CT117 wanted to know if alt-right were to form their own desired ethno-state, would they prosecute Christians? Look up the Night of Long Knives. That's basically what would happen.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that's constantly been argued. Because here's the thing about the alt-right. They can talk about, you know, they want to save the West and all this other fun stuff. It's like, alright, that sort of rhetoric, you can say whatever you want. I want to know how this supposed ethno-state is going to work. To do that, you got to discuss game theory. And every single time I have ever seen somebody discuss game theory, they either try to distract away from it, or they sound like an idiot. Historically ignorant. You know, Richard Spencer constantly sounded like that when it came to this sort of thing. Jean-Francois Garapi, same thing. You know, pipe dreams and silliness. You know, they for some reason they would think that if they got what they wanted, that there wasn't going to be some bloodthirsty egotist that was going to come up and kill them and then assume power, or something along those lines. You know, and on top of that, the idea that they're not going to move everyone out of the country by force, that no one's going to tell them F you, and then nobody's going to get shot. That was always a joke. And on top of that, one of the groups that would stand against that sort of thing would be Christians. They would kill us. They can try to say all the time that they support Christianity. No, they don't. If they supported Christianity, they wouldn't hate people who look different than them.
Well, they think Judeo-Christian values are inherently Western values.
There's a problem, though. Love thy neighbor.
Yeah. Yeah. And on top of that, you'd have the issue of, well, which brand of Christianity is the good kind? Is it going to be more of a Protestant ethno-state, Catholic, non-denominational? I mean, is everything fair game? Everything but Mormons? Everything but Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses? Christian Scientists? Like...
Well, here's the thing. no matter what, they come in conflict with the Bible right out of the gate.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So let me it's Matthew 22:32 through 40, I want to say. Hold on a minute. I don't have my Bible near me, so I'm going to use Bible Gateway real quick.
That's what it's there for.
So Matthew 22. Well, I'm going to read 34 through 40. Hearing that Jesus had silenced the Sadducees, the Pharisees got together. One of them, an expert in the law, tested him in this question. Teacher, what is the greatest commandment in the law? And Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment, and the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments. So, there's two things that the alt-right are going to come into conflict with right out of the gate. A, love God above all other things. That would include your race. Second, love your neighbor as yourself. Your neighbor means humanity. Human next to you. That includes black people. That includes Latino people. That includes Dominican people, etc., etc. They don't believe in those ideas. And I don't think they really believe in Western values either. Because if they actually looked at Judeo-Christian values, they'd realize that they're full of it. But that's how it goes. But so basically, once again, to answer the question, would they persecute Christians? Absolutely. They absolutely would. They'll tell you opposite, but they're full of it. It's like I said, look up the Night of Long Knives. That's what would happen.
About as ready as I'm gonna be.
All right, Hatman. Okay, let's get into
Chris
some
Jones
Kavanaugh
wants
stuff.
to
know, do we think the Dems just nuked their midterm and 2020 chances with this stunt?
It depends on whether or not he's confirmed, honestly.
I'm of the opinion that they have. Because I don't remember the exact poll numbers, but they didn't look good for the Democrats. They didn't look good at all.
I remember seeing something like 60% of voters across the board want him confirmed if the FBI turns up no new allegations or nothing of note. So that certainly doesn't look good for them.
Yeah. See, I'm of the opinion that, you know, if you pull stunts like this and if it's rather obvious that the American people are, you know, not going for it, if the polls are against you, you can't just do this
No.
and think you're going to get away with it. But it's their own darn fault if they lose them, and I'm just going to laugh.
Yep. Yep.
All right, CT117 wants... I'm sorry, we already answered that. Hardball Entertainment asks, suppose it were Amy Coney Barrett and not Kavanaugh, do you think the left would have pulled this kind of crap on her? Would they even have been able to? I don't know if they would have been able to, but they probably would have found something else.
There's no way they would have been able to pull something like this. Because you just don't accuse a woman of rape.
Yeah.
Like, you saw even with, what's her name, in the Me Too movement. Like, there was immediate pushback just at the allegation.
Mm-hmm.
No, you can't do that. Now, it'd probably be something else, like, you know, I don't know, suddenly she has a drinking problem, or suddenly she's got, you know, offshore tax havens or some nonsense like that.
I would figure that it would actually center around abortion stuff.
Like
that she's betrayer of women or something along those lines.
Well, absolutely. That's what they would frame it as initially, like they did with Kavanaugh. You know, they go all in on the she is going to repeal Roe v. Wade because she's actually said she wants to. Yeah. So,
but then again, Roe v. Wade Planned Parenthood, all that stuff is at its lowest popularity in history.
Yeah. So no, I still think they pull something dirty out of their hats, though.
Yeah. And and Josh 1920 wants to know: do we think Democrats get control back that level with that level of division in the country? Will get to the point of balkanization. I don't think they're going to get control back. I actually don't think they're going to win the House or the Senate.
I don't think so either. Certainly not the Senate. The Senate might even gain a seat for the Republicans, but so far, like pretty much all the polls are like, no, they're not going to win back the Senate at the very least. The House, I don't think they're gonna get that back either.
Yeah, I just don't see it happening at this point.
No.
Oh, I completely forgot. We got Twitter questions we didn't answer either.
Oh, wow. Well, okay.
Yeah, and they're all politics.
Keep it going. Keep it going.
Okay. Let's see here. How do you argue with an atheist about the importance of existence of God-given or natural rights? Well, first off, you don't want to frame it as God-given. You want to frame it as natural right.
Yeah.
From there, the way that John Locke put it is that they are self-evident, meaning that they are observable things that an individual can do if not interfered with by the state.
Yeah.
Meaning that people have to go out of their way to stop you from doing these things.
Yeah.
And what I would do is he goes through the whole thing in the book that is the iconic discussion of liberty-based philosophy, is easily the Two Treatises of Government. And he goes over all of it. Also, he pokes holes in monarchy and things along those lines. It's a brilliant book. Let's see here. What else did Duke have for us? What are your thoughts on... Oh, no, we did the alternative hypothesis one. What's our opinion on doctor-assisted suicide?
That one's weird.
So... I don't have a definitive answer on it. All I can give you is my thought process.
Yeah.
So... my gut is not for it. Because suicide is a temporary or a permanent answer to a temporary problem. Always is. I say that as somebody who's struggled with long-time depression, and it was worse when I was younger than it is now. Or rather, I didn't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
And what I would say, just as a gut instinct, is that it is one of those things that should stay banned. Because I don't think that that's the sort of thing as a society we should encourage. And this is where we start to get into Edmund Burke territory, philosophy-wise, because he was always the one who thought of, or rather those who come from the Burke version of conservatism, tend to think of conservatism as being used to keep a social order. And this is one of those... I usually oppose that, but in this sort of a scenario, I do think that there is a necessity here. Because you have to ask yourself, what kind of a society are you in when you allow such things to happen? You know, like, there's a lot of times people ask that question and it's overblown. Like, how could you have violent movies or violent video games or mean words? No, it's like, people deal with that on their own. And there are ways for human beings to deal with these things. Assisted suicide, on the other hand, you know, in a weird way, is almost permissive murder. It's like, I am perfectly fine with you killing me, sir. So, I'm not for it. I think that it could take us down a dark path as a society, where we come to a point where we start determining that life in general is meaningless on a societal level, and that's scary. It really is.
I have a bit of a different approach to it.
Go for it.
I am for it, but with an exception. That exception being someone has to have a terminal illness with no chance of recovery. Because of all the doctor-assisted suicide cases that I have looked into, and I think Oregon passed a law about it somewhat recently too. It's mostly been those sorts of reasons behind it. You know, I would rather not continue to suffer when there is no chance of me recovering. Put me out of my misery. That sort of thing. Not so much a depression leading to suicide or that sort of thing. It's, you know, I'm going to die anyway, you know, grant me this mercy. And in that sort of case, yeah, I see it, and I think I'm okay with that. But at the same time, like, the idea that someone could use that as a reason to, you know, basically complete the final quote-unquote stages of depression, that I definitely do not like. And of course, you know, I say this as someone who lives with it and who's had a family member, you know, kill themselves. So.
Yeah, that's real. Yeah. I would like to see an actual debate on this discussion, and I don't think I've ever seen an honest one between two people who are educated. You know, you see people like fucking e-celebs do it, and I just... You know, weird thing about me recently, I find myself watching less and less YouTube.
Yeah, same here.
Like, it's just... You know, Chris Ray Gun does better. Okay, what are Chris Ray Gun's qualifications? Aside from banging a dumbass. You know, I don't really care. I don't. Like, give me some sort of qualification as to why I should listen to you. And, like, there are two people that I have interacted with on the internet that do videos that are qualified to discuss what they're discussing, and that is the Distributist and Aiden Paladin. That's it. Everything else I find myself taking with a grain of salt. But I think I'm just getting to that age where it's like I just don't care about the opinions of my peers unless they know what they're discussing, and it's just like whatever. And then people are too easily distracted with e-drama, and it's like, I'm tired of this. Like, can we have a discussion about something meaningful or do something meaningful here? If not, fuck off. All right, sorry, that discussion kind of brought me down. One more from Duke of Tumwater, then we're going to move on to entertainment. What's our opinion on the notion that if you didn't vote, you don't have the right to complain about the way the government's being run? I'm not a fan of that, just because not voting can be a conscious choice. Mm-hmm. You know, if you don't like any of the options, you know, what else can you do? You know, votes have to be earned. Or you have to piss somebody off just enough to vote against you, in a sense. You know, I still kind of consider voting for Donald Trump to be a vote against Hillary Clinton. You know? And against Gary Johnson, too. Because I thought Gary Johnson was trash. I'm not doing the impression again. So yeah, I don't agree with that. You know, if you're a citizen of the United States, you should be able to gripe. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, you can still gripe about somebody's product without actually having bought it.
All right, let's move on to the entertainment stuff. Holy Ninja says, "Who do you train the inner pessimist into the proper critic?" Who? Really who? Because that statement doesn't make sense. Why? Because I've discussed this before. Why, I think, is the question he meant to put in.
Why do
I train the inner pessimist to into a proper critic? That or how? Yeah, well, no, how would make more sense. If that's the case, we'll answer both. Why would I do it, or how would I do it? Is simple. Is make sure that what you're arguing is not from pure emotion. If you find yourself saying "I feel" more than twice, stop, rewind, and reevaluate your position. And ask yourself, am I being emotional? Why? And answer that question before you go forward. Not because it invalidates your overall opinion, but to some people it will devalue what you have to say because they don't like the fact that you're being overly emotional, overly political, what have you. Because reviews, criticism is not for you. It's for your audience. That's something that people... Criticism is a product. Treat it like one.
Yeah.
And that would go into the why, go into the why, is so that I'm not misleading my audience. Because if I feel like and I think Hatman, you might agree with this. I kind of feel like we botched our Last Jedi review. In a sense, I think that we both had nostalgia cocaine in our noses because we kind of gave it more than it deserved, praise wise.
The initial one or
the first one we
second
did.
Viewing? Okay.
Because I think that when I went back and I watched it compared to what we're saying now, it's almost like two different people. Because we didn't allow ourselves to think about the movie.
Well, no,
we were just sort of reacting to a few cool moments.
Well, yeah, that, and, I even said back then, I remember, I don't know how I feel about it. That's how I walked out of the theater. And it took me months before I, really sat on it and then watched it again. And then I was like, yeah, I don't like this thing. And then I was able to pick apart, the things that I didn't like about it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I really feel like we didn't really do the proper service to the audience there. And yeah. I think if and when I get to review Venom, it's gonna be hard for me too, because it's my favorite character ever. And if he gets done quasi right, I genuinely wonder if I'm gonna have the nostalgia blinders on. So we'll have to see what happens. But that's why though, is because there are some people that they put those blinders on, and they won't take them off. So, CT117 asks if the alt-right took control of Hollywood, would they still make crappy films? Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Germany made crappy films under the Nazis.
It was done. Okay. Koopa's Revenge Home says, should Sony and Microsoft do something similar to Nintendo Direct to hype up and inform their consumers on upcoming games? They really don't need to. Because most of the games that are on those consoles are not internal. Not to mention Sony already has the PlayStation experience. They just do one big thing every year.
Microsoft has, I think, XOFest.
Oh, that's right. So they've got one big thing per year. They don't really need a Nintendo Direct kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because so much of it is third party that they just let the third parties advertise their games.
Yeah. I think if they started to really build up their in-house studios, then maybe they could. And same would go for Sony too, naturally.
I don't really
But
think that, like, excuse me, it really worked the way that they thought it would, though, because they did that with the original. There were a lot of in-house studios, which is why the Xbox has some surprisingly good games on it. I mean, they owned BioWare at one point.
yeah.
And that's how we got Knights, and that's how we got Jade Empire. And several other games, too. That's why some people kind of see the original Xbox as sort of like a second Dreamcast in a few senses. It didn't really sell that. It didn't sell that well until Halo 2, really. Like, it didn't sell a ton of consoles until Halo 2 came out. But there were so many unique games on it because Microsoft would be like, hey, you know, we'll buy you, and then you make a game for us. And you just got some crazy shit. Some that was experimental and weird, but wasn't really that great. Some games that were mind-bogglingly good, like Halo, Halo 2, though I still think Halo 1 was better. Ninja Gaiden was freaking amazing. Knights of the Old Republic, Jade Empire. So, yeah. Like, I think that they don't really... Their strategy for marketing is just... for selling consoles and stuff like that just isn't. It's not the same as Nintendo, so they wouldn't really benefit from that sort of thing. Yeah. Not to mention, given how many multi-platform titles there are, there'd be a lot of bleed over.
They also need a whole host of established franchises too.
Yeah, and right now Microsoft especially doesn't have a ton of them.
Yeah.
Because I think like just about every title that was exclusive to Microsoft at the beginning of the Xbox 360 cycle, almost all of them are multi-platform now. Like Mass Effect, the Mass Effect trilogy originally was supposed to be an Xbox exclusive trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
And then EA bought the rights out from Microsoft and then made it multi-platform. Yeah. And then Ninja Gaiden's the same way. There's just not much there. Like what does Microsoft even have exclusive wise at this point? You know, the two biggest ones are Halo and Gears.
Yep, Halo, Gears, Crackdown.
Well, yeah, and Crackdown wasn't even. Crackdown has to recover because 2 didn't do very well.
Yeah, and 3's been delayed. God, how many times now?
I don't even know.
Minecraft, but that's not even.
That didn't start as one.
Well, it's still not one. Minecraft is a multi-plat game, but Microsoft just owns it. So, like, any sort of Minecraft sequel or whatever would be an Xbox exclusive, I think.
Probably. So, yeah, it's... And then Killer Instinct.
Yeah.
And any Rare title.
About Killer Instinct.
Because Microsoft owns Rare. Yeah. Motherfucking Battletoads.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to that.
I'll take Battletoads.
Okay. Let's go on. Crystal Wing 2149 says, for my Frozen Dead story, I'm debating whether or not to have mutant zombies instead of bandits. Never liked bandits and zombie stories. What do you guys think? I really don't like telling people what to do and what not to do in their stories, man.
Yeah.
If whatever feels right to you, go with it. Like, if you stop yourself and you're saying, is this too ridiculous? Don't. Say to yourself, can I make this entertaining?
Yeah.
Because I had to think to myself, it's like, can I make super soldiers fighting Middle Eastern demons entertaining? Fuck yeah, I can. There you go. That's all you have to answer to yourself. Because there are some batshit insane stories. I mean, I have a fucking Berserk poster behind me. One of the most batshit insane stories I've ever read. Like, Doom is batshit insane.
Yeah.
Man too angry to die.
Literally, too angry to die.
Yeah, like, Jesus. You know, there's a lot of silly stories out there. But if you portray them right, people will take it take it seriously. It's just in how you do it. Swordsman 100 says, now that Venom first host is over, what are your thoughts? Hatman, did you read this?
No, I didn't. Floor's yours.
Okay. So, I'm happy that Mike Costa got to put the proper kibosh on his run with Venom. And I really felt like this story arc probably should have been how his series ended. It gives you the proper closure on the new symbiote that Venom had spawned. Sadly, it does not get a name. I was kind of bummed about that, but it is somewhere out there. It had a really cool design. Mark Bagley, once again, he helped design Carnage and Venom and several other symbiotes, so he knocked it out of the park again. It was just right for Mark Bagley to be working on it. The story was okay up until the last issue, in which case it got really good really fast. So I feel like it's going to work a lot better as a graphic novel. So once the graphic novel comes out, I might recommend buying it then, but I don't know when that's going to happen. Needless to say, though, again, I felt bad that Mike Costa kind of got kicked off the book for no apparent reason, especially because he was outselling so many other writers. But I don't know. It was a bummer. It was a bummer. Needless to say, though, I enjoyed the 4th issue. Again, I just think that they probably should have just released a trade paperback instead. Let's see here. Did we answer the Gundam customization question on the podcast? I don't think we did.
I don't think we did.
Okay. If we were each given a Gundam, how would we customize it? Me personally, I would probably just take close combat stuff. Like, I love Wing Zero from a functional standpoint, but if I were to pilot one, I think I would much rather do Epion.
I'm not even surprised. That
or Gundam Maxter. Actually, yeah, let's go with that one. That fits me a lot better. Because A, Murica, B, boxing, C, pistols. It fits.
Mine would be very simple.
Oh, wait, hold on. 4 is 4 bitches. There's four good-looking ladies following me everywhere. You know Chibity was well taken care of. Let's just face it.
Mine would be very simple. Missiles, more missiles, all the missiles.
So heavy arms custom, basically.
Basically.
Yeah, that's what I think.
But I'm just saying, chicks dig giant robots.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Okay. Ryan Potter asks another writing question. Is 12 stories too much? Yes! Do not try to write 12 things at once. What the hell? Number 4 is my strongest one. Should I work on that one first? Yes.
Hold on, 12 stories at once?
Do not do that. It is not smart.
Okay.
2 is a stretch. Like, part of the reason that comic book writers, like, suffer from just coming across as crap is sometimes they spread themselves too thin. Like I said, I'm doing 2 right now. And I honestly feel like I'm spread fairly thin. Like, it's really hard for me to do Inglewood stuff.
Yeah.
It's hard getting used to it. Because I've got all these ideas for Project Lazarus, and then I've got this other book that I'm working on, and it's like, Mikey, you need to get into the mood to write this. Because you want to get this, launched by middle of next year, right? So maybe even earlier than that. It just depends. We're in the process of trying to figure some stuff out. But yeah. Like, just 1 or 2 at a time, man.
so...
And just take the other ideas and write the synopsis down. That's it. And then put it away. Put it away until you're done with what you're already working on.
Don't do it if these are like all different stories. If they're all within like a similar sort of continuity or the same universe, you maybe could, but you got to be very careful.
Even then, I wouldn't advise it.
No, unless you're a madman like me that is like insane about plot holes and wants to make sure like whenever like one part references a part in the future or there's a callback to a different part, that they're all in line. But don't be like me, because I am a madman and I've been doing this for 14 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be me.
I used to be like that, and it's just like, all right, stop.
Yeah. Not advisable unless you know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah, and that's my thing. It's like, I'll come up with an idea, and I just set it aside. Because sometimes that idea sucks. But, like Brett said when we were talking to him, sometimes 12 bad ideas can turn into one good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Project Lazarus is a bunch of bad ideas over the last 10 years I turned into one good idea.
Yeah, always save your old stuff, ideas, drafts, whatever, because you never know when you might use some of that material again.
Yeah. Gosh, I'm tired. All right, and Hardball Entertainment has one more question for us. What are the odds of us bringing Richard on to interview him about Jawbreakers and Iron Sights? Well, it would probably be a one-on-one thing between me and him because he said he doesn't like doing group chats. So we'll see what happens. I can't make any promises.
Kick me off halfway through the show.
Nah.
The show becomes Micah and your boy Zach.
Nah. But yeah, at some point I'll have him on to talk, but... Well, oddly enough, that was the last question.
That covers it. All right.
All right, folks, we appreciate you stopping by. Don't forget, podcast, once again, is this Saturday. Plan is to review Venom. Hopefully I'll be able to finagle some extra cash to go see it on opening night. And, Hatman, any final words?
If you aren't able to see Venom, I will definitely be seeing it on Thursday. So you will at least have a Venom review from me.
Alrighty. Alright, folks. We appreciate you watching. My name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin, also known as the Hatman.
We'll see you guys next week. Deus Volt.
Deus Volt.